Tonight in Arkansas, there's a mother tucking in her daughter and turning off the light. A business owner's burning the midnight oil. An at-home dinner date is plating up possibility. And it's all happening under one roof. How? The power of a conversation, like the one John from Integrity Solutions had with First Horizon Bank about his vision for a sustainable mixed-use building. Now it's not just words, it's life. First Horizon Bank. Let's find a way. Go to firsthorizon.com/John. First Horizon Bank, member FDIC. A lifetime of hard work. Children laughing in the kitchen. Family photos on a restaurant wall. A legacy that lives on. It all comes from the power of a conversation. Like the one Tommy Hall had with First Horizon Bank about taking over his father's Charleston-based restaurant business. Now the table is set for a whole new generation. First Horizon Bank. Let's find a way. Go to firsthorizon.com/Tommy. First Horizon Bank, member FDIC.
Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Join us as we seek the truth and travel the long road to justice. What's going on, everybody? It's Sunday, and that means it's time for another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I am Gigi. What's good, Fruit Loop?
I don't know. Like filings. There you go.
Yeah, so I think this week's going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah, we're on watch.
We are on murder charge watch, I think, after tomorrow. I agree. I think we're close. I mean, look how much stuff has been filed in the last week.
Yeah.
And we're starting to get answers as to why Rob Wood filed I think it's Pro Hoc Vice. Pro Hoc. Not sure how to say it.
I said it kind of German, so mine was more like Pro Hoc.
It must be your ancestry
It
kicking in.
It is. I got some German in me.
Same here.
Yeah.
So I learned a very important lesson regarding my cat Sherlock yesterday.
Yeah. What happened?
So I was in here and I was bored and I'm on the computer listening to some music, reading some stories, and then I had this bright idea to look up on YouTube sounds that annoy cats because I just wanted to see what it would do. So I clicked on the video, and can I just give a word of advice to any of you thinking of doing this? Don't have your cat sitting on your lap when this comes on, because I have got a gash on my inner thigh that it might take forever to heal. I'm just saying. The cat was not happy. I was not happy. And lesson learned.
The cat's a little aggressive anyways.
I'm so used to dogs. So this is my first cat. And you know how dogs are. They'll let you pet them until your arm falls off. Like they don't know a limit. It's like, pet me all day. I'm happy. But with cats, it's like 3 strokes and then you get bit.
Yeah.
They're bipolar. One minute they're purring and happy, and I can have him sitting on my lap and he's rubbing his face against mine, and then he bites my nose.
Yeah, that's literally why almost every time I wear boots over here, because the cat will attack you.
Yeah. So that was kind of my lesson of the day yesterday. Last episode it was don't wear socks on hardwood floors.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
this is like becoming
this is nothing new to me and you.
No. Nope.
And then we took my oldest antiquing yesterday. We had a really good time.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was super fun.
Yeah, I found me a cool compass.
What are you going to do with a 100-year-old compass? I'm just curious.
I don't know.
Because you have one on your phone.
Yeah, I do. But it was just cool.
It is neat.
Just how it looked and everything. It was cool. So
I got some kind of a little mini Egyptian vase that I never would need.
It's got I Dream a Genie in it, probably. You rub it on the right.
A genie pop out. That would be great.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of fun, but it's amazing how you go into these antique stores and you find all these things you just can't live without.
Yeah.
I got antique drawer pulls for my kitchen.
I'm like a cast iron fanatic. I cook in cast iron and I like it. Yeah. And I like the old cast iron. So there was a bunch of that stuff up there. I didn't buy any of it, but there was a bunch of that up there.
Man, those things were like potential murder weapons.
Oh,
they were so
dude,
heavy.
You take somebody out.
Oh man,
it's like Three Stooges. Dang.
Or like the cartoons where they would hit somebody over the head and the big long knot would pop up. And yeah. So we had fun.
Yeah.
And so we don't do spoken ads on this podcast. but I'm going to do one right now. So I'm going to give you a little background. This is for mine and my dad's company.
Yep.
And the only reason I'm doing this is because we can. And so just really quickly, my dad is like the smartest person I know.
I totally agree.
He got a 10th grade education and then went on to create 2 very successful businesses. 20 something years in now, he's going strong, but he invented a product for the food industry. And so he has patents in 6 different countries. And we have a business that I own, and it's called Kettle Seal. Kettle, KettleSeal.com is the website. So if anybody out there works in the food industry and you work with big industrial size cooking kettles, if you work with these, you know that the plungers where you drain the excess fluid are they fail on a very regular basis. And it is an expensive problem in the prison systems, in hospitals, colleges, school districts, anywhere that cooks for a large volume of people, cruise ships. It's just endless. So my dad invented one that does not fail, and it is the only one on the market that doesn't fail. Has a 3-year warranty. And so if you're tired of getting burned by leaky fluid, go to KettleSeal.com. And if you use the code GOV20, it will get you 20% off every one. And we promise you that problem will be over. And now the advertisement is over.
Cool. Cool. And I forgot to give you that website for Sarah's ministry that she's involved in. It's www.beautyfromashesranch.org.
Oh, I like Beauty from Ashes.
Yeah.
That is really cool.
That's it. And she's back home and doing good. So
yeah, we enjoyed having Sarah here with us.
Yep.
She is adorable.
Yep.
She's old enough to be my daughter, which makes me feel old.
You are old.
Speaking of feeling old, how about seeing some of the board games we played with in the antique store yesterday?
Okay, there was a ton. Ton of board games. Oh, before I forget, thank you guys for the happy birthday wishes.
Yes.
I celebrated all week. So it started like last weekend and finished up yesterday. I got to go play Top Golf, which if you've never done that, it's pretty fun.
Yeah, we need to go. We really need to start playing golf this spring because our old bones are just not letting us run around like we used to. So we need to find something kind of laid back. And we did for a while. We golfed and had a blast.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, I love it.
My grandpa was a huge golfer, and he would smile down if I took it up.
Yeah. So they brought out these, they call them injectable donut holes. And when I read it, I was like, what is an injectable donut hole? And so they have these like Bavarian cream, raspberry, whatever, and it's like these donut holes. And you inject it with like a syringe type thing.
Oh, wow.
It was really good.
It's
great for diabetics.
I was just about to say, it sounds like the ideal thing for Miss Diabetes over here.
Yeah, it was great. It was great.
With your little permanent monitor in your arm.
Yeah, it was great.
Speaking of sugar, Grammy made a banana pudding, and I posted a picture of it last night because everybody's like, oh, I want to see a picture of your Grammy's pudding, and the response was huge.
Yeah.
And I wish we could share, and there's some in the fridge for after.
I'm in.
So you need to go ahead and pump your little insulin level up.
That's right.
So you're good to go. So now we have not talked to our listeners since the latest with Lori and Chad.
Yeah. So I didn't see any of this coming.
No, me either.
No.
Okay. So now we know why the Pro Hack Vice or Hack Vice, whatever, was filed. And we didn't know if Pryor and Means were going to bring in some different defense attorneys to assist with their cases. And we theorized maybe it was Rob Wood, and it was.
Yep.
Are you good over there?
I'm good. I was getting me a drink of water.
I thought I heard that gulp.
I was good. Gulp, gulp.
So I think it's big. What do we know about this woman, Fruit Loop?
So Rachel Smith, she's from Missouri. She is highly qualified in homicide and death penalty cases.
To me, this just screams we are going to have some major charges soon.
Yeah, I agree.
This is not going to be small, little charges. This is going to be the big ones.
Yeah.
I mean, and I love the fact that Rob Wood called in somebody more experienced to deal with this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, they're a little office. Like, they're a little, I won't say office, but
yeah,
they're small. So him bringing her in
is
bringing your star pitcher
Right. And so tomorrow we have a hearing at 5:00 Eastern. I doubt we'll see it. It'll probably go into a breakout session, but we feel like this is going to be to confirm that she can work within the state of Idaho, even though she's licensed in Missouri. And Scott Reich said that he didn't see any reason that the judge would not allow this. And he said Pryor and Means really had no objection that would be listened to, although that hasn't stopped them in the past.
True.
So we'll see what comes of that. But I think after tomorrow, I really think it's just any time.
Yeah.
That I'm going to wager a bet, and I may be way off by months, but I think maybe we have charges by the end of the week.
I'm down. Like, I got my alert set. We good to go.
Same. And the good thing is neither one of us are going anywhere. So as soon as that happens, we will be on.
Yep.
And so we're going to start back our series that we've been doing.
I'm liking this.
I like it a lot. It's been enlightening. I mean, I think a lot of us who follow true crime have watched documentaries about life in prison. But there's nothing compared to reading the words of somebody who is in prison for life without parole for murder.
Yeah, because obviously we're watching a documentary which has been edited and cut and whatever else. So this is like straight up.
This is the good, bad, and there's not much good. So this is the bad and the ugly. And we may end up and say this every single time we do this. We are not seeking sympathy for this person. And I don't really think she wants sympathy. She understands why she is where she is, and she accepts her role. The crime was not pretty. The murder was not pretty. She is not innocent. So we do not want to make it seem like we're trying to get sympathy for her or start a cause for her, because we're not.
Yeah. And obviously her experiences, because of the state she's in, is going to be possibly different from other states. And I mean, we understand that. Right. But prison's prison.
I think there's a lot of universal aspects of prison that are probably common all across the board.
Yeah.
But we also know that a lot of these experiences are unique to her and only her. So we're not speaking for any other prisoner in any facility at all. We're not going to name the facility she's at. None of that needs to be known, but we just want to make sure that we say everything we say on here comes from her recollection of her time in county jail all the way up to where she is now.
Yeah. And for me, it's been, and we know Lori's Lori, but it's been a good comparison of what could possibly be going on. Now we know she's still all in with Chad or whatever, so it appears to be. But some of this stuff could be going through her head, what's been going through Jane's head.
And even if not Lori, I think maybe more for Chad, because from what we've heard, he was definitely the most uneasy and nervous when things caught up to them. So we're going to really, and like we said in the previous episode, we will jump back and forth because I'm getting so much information from her, different letters, different emails that are things that she has written in the past, and they stagger in how they come in because people read every email she sends out and every one she gets in.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily get everything in order. So we try to categorize it to where the first part we'll talk about jail, then we'll go into prison, but we may jump around a little bit as I get stuff from her.
Yeah.
And she's very willing to share this. We are doing all of this with her permission. She clearly understands what we're doing on this podcast with the information she gives us. So we want to put that out there.
Gotcha. So you're going to share some prison slang.
Yeah. So I think at the beginning of every one of these little mini sessions we do with this, we're going to give you 5 prison slang terms that aren't vulgar, because I've read through the list and there are some I wouldn't even tell like somebody else completely comfortable with because they're gross.
Yeah.
So what's number 1, Fruit Loop?
So all day, and that is a life sentence, as in I'm doing all day.
Okay, so number 2, all day and a night. That means life without parole.
Backdoor parole is to die in prison.
And the heat waves in prison are not like the ones we have here in South Carolina. The heat wave in prison is the attention brought to a group of inmates by the action of one or a few, such as Joe got caught with contraband and now the whole tier is going through a heat wave.
Wow. So the fifth one is chin check, to punch another inmate in the jaw to see if he'll fight back.
I'm going to chin check you after this is over. Well, we have 6 today because I thought this was clever.
Okay, I want to say I will fight back.
Okay, yeah. Well, then I won't chin check you. So a 4-piece suit is a full set of restraints composed of handcuffs, leg irons, and waist chains, and the little security boxes to cover the keyholes.
Wow.
So I hope I never have a 4-piece suit on.
Yeah, me either.
Okay, so we're going to jump into jail because I was able to get some writings from her that go back to the time of arrest. So, Fruit Loop, why don't you go ahead and...
All right, so reality after arrest is surreal. Your body is processed. You are stripped of all your clothing with several forensic specialists, cops, and investigators in the room. They examine every inch of you and comment as they go. You're addressed, cuffed, and sent to jail.
Yeah, and it might not be that investigators are in there with you or forensics, because in her case, there had been arrests before her. So I assume that they paid more close attention because she was another piece. She was the last piece to the arrests.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of people involved in her being detained and arrested and all that jazz. So once you arrive into jail, you do it all over. You're strip searched again.
Wow.
And she was told that prison and going to prison, or the path to prison from jail to prison, it involves an evolution of who you are. But to her, she felt like it was a de-evolution.
Are you struggling to conceive? You have options, and at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group, we'll make sure you have the guidance and support you need. PREG is known for individualized fertility care that's unique to every patient. We take the time to provide a reassuring and empowering experience because we believe that you deserve nothing less. Let us help you on your journey to parenthood. Visit us at pregonline.com to learn more. Get the guidance and support you need at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group.
So at the moment she was arrested, she lost her sense of self. She says you no longer control the narrative and details of your life. The police, media, and the district attorneys have the largest control of your life.
And like we said before, this case received some mainstream media. It wasn't overwhelming. A lot of people probably had never heard of it, but there was enough locally and kind of regionally with this crime that the media did largely impact how all of this played out. And there was a fallout with the families affected and everything. We'll get to that later. But she said that even sometimes the defense attorneys will twist details of your life just to be able to defend you.
Man. So when defending your case, if you cannot defend the others in your case, you will likely suffer their fate.
Right. So in her case, as we know, she did not physically murder anybody, but she arranged some things that resulted in the murder and then afterwards. And so I guess there's a point where you have to maybe buddy up with the other two that did not physically murder anybody. But then you still have the aspect of you have to acknowledge that in a roundabout way you were part of the murder.
Sure.
So kind of what this says to me is if you're thinking of going out on a limb on your own and saying, well, I did this, it's not going to work. You have to sort of work the angle of getting on with their defense attorneys and making it to where it was a group thing, so that because nobody is going to believe that one person in this case was a lone holdout or tried to do anything noble.
Yeah. And it almost seems like if there's 2 or 3 of you that say the same thing about the other individual, that it maybe looks stronger in your favor. Mm-hmm. That's just my thought.
But really, like we had said previously on the last one, statistically, once you're arrested and accused of this kind of stuff, especially when there are co-defendants, statistically, you're not probably not going to be successful arguing in court.
Yeah.
What happens to one in this case probably happens to all, and that's relevant in Lori and Chad in that as of right now, they're co-defendants.
Sure. So she gets a little bit into the parts of jail. In jail, she was allowed to shower every other day, make a phone call, look for a book. They could order canteen once a week if they could afford it. And ramen and a small bag of chips cost $1.
Yeah. So unless you have family actively putting money in your commissary account, you're a have not, and whatever is in the chow hall is what you eat.
Wow. I'm going to tell you this, shower every other day. I'm out.
I'm out. Yep.
I got to be clean.
I tell you what, after doing this, I am not a criminal in any sense of the word, but I'm so paranoid about going to prison now.
You gonna come a recluse. You gonna stay in your house.
Yeah, I will order my groceries in, order Grubhub.
I ain't leaving.
I'm scared. Like I mean, I don't even try to beat a red light, because if I don't and like I hit somebody, I could go to jail. So
Nope.
I'm doing everything with purpose, y'all.
Yeah. So she talks about cellmate etiquette. Never touch anything that doesn't belong to you. Courtesy flushing is essential.
Ooh.
You have no option but to accept it when your stuff is taken away.
Yeah, because you have to think, these people that work in jails, they're not babysitters. They don't care about squabble. She took this, she took that. They just want to make sure you guys don't kill each other, and that you don't do anything to hurt the staff. They don't have time for these little arguments that pop up.
Middle school. She took my toothbrush. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. So, and two, we're going to talk about a little bit later. You're going into a cell who knows how long these people have been together.
Oh yeah.
So you're going to be an outcast
for sure. And it's almost like they can smell new inmates like a shark smells blood.
Yeah.
You're obvious, but she said that at the point she's at now compared to where she was in jail, she says she's confidently able to handle a bipolar, paranoid, schizophrenic outburst against unseen forces that have become the third invisible cellmate. She can now dodge flying paper, shoes, cups, and toiletries, all while making a cup of instant coffee.
Wow.
So all of these things that just seem so foreign to us, I guess after she's been in, I think, over 10 years now. Like we said, it's a society within a society.
Yeah.
And they have their own rules and their own way of doing stuff. And it's so foreign.
And I think they have their own rules on top of the jail rules or the prison rules. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
Yeah.
There is a hierarchy. There are just certain things I guess you learn over time as fact and yeah.
Yeah. So she then goes on to say that bunkies share their body odor as well as their drug-induced philosophy and knowledge of criminal activities. This is what you see when you're watching like Law and Order or something.
Yeah.
Where they're saying, what'd they share in prison with you? Well, this is what they said.
She learned how to properly pack a meth pipe, the importance of removing all air bubbles before shooting up, where to buy drugs, how to sell drugs, and the best places to shoplift on the outside.
Wow.
Those are some of the things she learned early on in her jail days, just with people in and out. Some people were in for drugs, some people were in for shoplifting, and so they share all this stuff with their cellmates.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And losing your privacy is a real thing, she says. She said that it seems like some staff members love to wait until you're comfortable on the potty, and then they show up and want to ask you a question. And it's not that it's ill-timed. She feels like a lot of the stuff in the early days is to kind of almost like boot camp, where you go in and they take away everything you've known as a person, and they kind of rebuild you into a soldier, because that's what's needed in order for soldiers to survive. So it seems to me like this is just an introduction into jail life, that the life that you knew is gone. You belong to us. And if I want to talk to you when you're going tinkle or whatever, I can do that.
It's like being a mom, right?
exactly like being a
You
mom.
can never go to the bathroom by yourself.
Oh my gosh, I'd shut my door and I'd see fingers come out from under, or now it's my dog who's a Velcro dog that won't even let me go to the potty by myself. He
Yeah.
sits at the door and whines. It's never ending. I haven't pottied by myself in 16 years.
Yeah. So you'd be okay with that? That'd be okay.
Well, no, I mean, at least I know these people and I love them. I mean, just
And there is a door.
there's a door.
Yeah.
No, I would not feel comfortable like dropping trowel in front of my kids and just going. No,
Yeah.
I got a door there.
So every conversation, whether written or spoken, is always with an audience. This includes conversations with medical staff.
And she said that the staff, like the prison staff, are told to half listen. You're not supposed to really sit there and listen. I'm sure they probably don't care. But nothing's private. Even your medical life, which on the outside is a big deal of patient privacy.
Yeah, HIPAA.
Yeah.
There's HIPAA regulations.
Right. But they don't have the choice of not allowing a corrections officer in there with them.
Yeah. So this next part, she says in jail she tried to commit suicide at least 24 times.
Mm-hmm.
She was only caught once, and that was the first time she tried. She was turned in by a cellmate who came back early from breakfast.
Yeah, and this is very, very common stuff from what I've heard. If they don't act on it, the urge is there. And I would imagine for people who are in and out of prison, we were talking about this before we went on, the rotating door. You have people who thrive in prison and really feel like an outsider on the outside.
Yep.
And then you have people like this girl who it's all foreign, but she said the removal of privacy is really for their own good. And the faster that you accept you have no privacy anymore in your life, the better.
Yeah.
The only privacy you have are the thoughts in your head. And that is it.
Yeah. Just reading through some of this, I was trying to put myself in her shoes and think, okay, let's take everything you have, take your closet, and you sleep in your closet for a week, go to the bathroom in your front yard
Right.
with everybody watching, and have somebody tell you when and when you can't eat. And I'm like,
Can you imagine pottying in your front yard? I heard Lori Vallow in my head. Hi, neighbor.
Yeah. That's funny.
Anyways, but she said the jail was not negligent in preventing her attempts. She had, and she had told me that when somebody makes up their mind, as in prison or outside, they don't make those thoughts known, and they will do everything they can to do it silently. She had shared with me that she had ingested chemical substances, and really the only thing it did was destroy the lining of her stomach.
Oh, wow.
And so she suffers the effects of it to this day. And I think she's in a different place now. I think she's a lot more resolved to where she is. And of course, after a decade in, the shock to the system is a little less as the years roll on. But I can imagine being somebody who never had been arrested. I don't even think she had a speeding ticket. To be, to make a decision that puts you in this place, even though you made the choice, it's still, I can see where you would have a lot of self-pity.
Yeah.
And that comes from regret and knowing you just made a colossal mistake.
Sure. I know at some jails, they put you in, if you're on suicide watch or whatever, they put you in these very large, and I've seen these, very large, it's almost like a mat that has Velcro on it, and there's holes so you can go to the bathroom.
Yep.
But it's like a big Gumby suit.
Yeah, and well,
That's
one
what
way
you
to
look
put
like. Yeah, you're like a big Gumby walking around.
That's one way to put it. And she hates those. Clearly, she had been put in after a couple of her attempts. And she said literally that outfit in itself is another reason not to ever try that again. And they put you in padded rooms and you're under 24-hour surveillance on camera and that sort of thing. So
yeah,
it sounds to me like when you're not successful in doing it, just what comes after, it's not even worth it to try again.
Yeah. So she shares a little bit what drove her to want to kill herself was the 5 different trial attorneys and 9 trial postponements. They just took her toll.
Yeah. I mean, because you have to think, look at Lori and Chad. She's been in over a year. She's been in, about 13 months now. Chad is in for 9. And this is the very beginning of the rest of their lives. But we haven't even got murder charges yet. And that's going to be a million delays in itself. We've said this is not going to go to trial for 2-3 years easy. She was almost 4 years before she went to trial in county jail. So you have to understand, on top of that, she gave birth and within 10 minutes had to give her child away. She lost her home, her job, her reputation, most of her family and friends, and there was no end in sight for her for the loss she kept experiencing. But then again, now she looks back at it as it is a loss that was made due to her decisions.
Yeah.
So it's not like poor me all the time. These are more early days in jail when you're still getting used to all the losses, even though you deserve to be in there because of what you did. We all are selfish creatures at the heart of it, I think.
Yeah.
And so you get into the poor me, and it became overwhelming.
Yep. So she goes on to say that some women will try to kill themselves because they fear release.
Yeah, and that's that revolving door.
Yeah.
Where some of these people have been in and out since they were juveniles. They're middle-aged now. And so being in is more familiar than being out, because maybe inside with that smaller group, you have more power. Outside, you're an underdog.
Yeah.
Some people can just run their lives better behind bars because they are in control in a way.
Yeah, and you think, is it the fear of going back in? So when you're in, just like you said, you know everything, you know how everything works.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you're out, you have that freedom. And is it a fear of, I'm going to mess up and have to go back? So that's tough.
Yeah, I think it goes both ways. I think you have people who are released and might enjoy a month or two of freedom, but realize that they had more pull and for whatever reason felt more of a person behind bars. Because if you take somebody who's been in 3/4 of their life, and there are so many of those in prison now, you throw them outside, it's a different world than when you went in. You don't have the skills to get jobs to support yourself. So I think a lot of these guys come out as felons or convicts. You can't get a job really that pays well. So they resort back to drugs and prostitution or whatever. But then you also have that certain population that use their time in jail to get educated and get high school diplomas and college degrees. And they're rehabilitated and they come out ready to live their life, knowing they have that second chance. It's just statistically, I think there's more of a revolving door in prison than there's not.
Yeah.
So she was talking about the emotional and financial toll and the major embarrassment that her family had to suffer through. And we've seen online since we've started covering these cases, it's so often that family members who are completely innocent, they're attacked for so many things that have nothing to do even with the people at hand that they are connected to. Decisions they make, their work situations, their housing situations. I mean, we've seen so much attacks on family ourselves, and knowing her family personally, I really hate to think they were victims of that. These are such good people.
Are you struggling to conceive? You have options, and at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group, we'll make sure you have the guidance and support you need. PREG is known for individualized fertility care that's unique to every patient. We take the time to provide a reassuring and empowering experience because we believe that you deserve nothing less. Let us help you on your journey to parenthood. Visit us at pregonline.com to learn more. Get the guidance and support you need at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group.
Did you miss your deadline to renew your Medicaid coverage? You can still send your completed annual review form to Healthy Connections Medicaid. You may be assigned to another health plan, but you can ask to come back to First Choice within 60 days of renewed Medicaid eligibility. It's your family. It's your choice. First Choice is the right choice. Renew and choose us. Visit selecthealthofsc.com/renew to learn more.
I would leave my kids with these people in a heartbeat. I have major respect for this family, but what we've seen in groups online and everywhere else, we've seen innocent family members be raked across the coals, and it takes a toll. Because in addition to dealing with this huge crime that your loved ones committed that is in the news and people are looking at you, I mean, I think it's the most unfair part of all this.
Yeah, because they're innocent.
Aside from the victims' families having to deal with the loss.
Yeah.
Right beside that is going to be the perpetrator's family that is just ostracized. You know what I'm saying? Just every little eye is on them, waiting for them to blink wrong. And it just adds to the problem.
Sure.
It adds to their pain because even though they're not the victim's family, they're victims themselves of being brought into something that they never wanted to be a part of.
Yeah, they didn't choose it. They didn't commit the crime. They're innocent.
And she says, I cannot protect friends and family from the privacy invasion that simply knowing me invites.
Yeah.
And that's powerful.
Oh,
she
yeah.
can't do nothing about it, but she's the cause inadvertently.
Yep. So she says as time passes in jail, you have a natural and gradual drifting away from those on the outside. The absence is accepted as a loss. It's almost like a death, really.
It really is. I mean, because especially to lifers and somebody like her, she said one of the hardest things for her to come to grips with is the fact that she'll never hug her mom or dad. They're getting older. Grandparents die. Parents are going to die while she's in there. She won't be there for them when they need her. And she won't even be able to go to a funeral because she's locked up in prison for life. And that has to be a loss that is devastating.
Yeah.
To be, to know that that's it. I mean, your family, life goes on. And she said one of the hardest things for her is getting pictures of nieces and nephews and her parents and her siblings. She said it's a shock to the system to see pictures of her nieces and nephews because, it's not frequent that she gets a picture. In fact, I've sent her a picture of me, and that was 2 weeks ago, and she still hasn't received it because anything with a file, I think they have to really vet it, and I don't know.
Yeah.
But she said it's really difficult to see life on the outside go on, even in pictures, because that's just validation that she's missing everything.
Yeah. And she says some days the weight of being in jail and awaiting trial causes her heart to race and breathing becomes difficult. Sometimes trial seems just out of reach.
Yeah.
So we talked about that, the delays and the postponements and everything.
Right. And then she says by the end of the time in jail, when it became time for trial, she was just ready for some finality because she knew statistically she was going to be in prison. And at this point, I think they were going back and forth of life or death and that sort of thing. They ended up and went with life. They didn't feel like they had enough to go for death. But I guess if you're waiting for bad news, sometimes it's like you just wish the doctor would call and tell you either way what's up.
Yeah.
So that you know. And I guess waiting for trial and waiting for that verdict is kind of the same thing.
Sure.
Because either you're going to be really relieved or you're going to be really upset and screwed.
Yeah. So looking more at the prison part of it, she says high risk, high profile inmates are often put in an isolation cage on the prison transport bus.
So we're going to start now as if time in jail is over, the verdict has been reached, and she has been assigned to prison.
So she's on the transport bus to the prison. She says the cages are built into the sides of the bus and gated doors separated the compartments. There was a low security compartment with benches and another area for prisoners in wheelchairs.
Mm-hmm. And she said in the cage it was hard to make out people's faces because the
mesh.
Whatever.
Like the metal mesh.
Right.
Yeah.
And she said the floor and the bench that she sat on was metal. And so they were transported in the middle of the night, and she said there was absolutely no sleep to be had. She said the metal chains against the metal floors and the benches, which just the rattling was nonstop for hours. She was on the bus, I think, for 8 hours.
Wow.
To go from the county jail to the state prison, which was halfway across the state.
Wow. So she said the reality of prison life set in. The horror of what awaited was all she could think about.
Yeah,
I can't
imagine. No.
Uh-uh.
She said that she wasn't in a hurry to get there because she knew once she got there, she'd never leave.
Yeah.
So she was taking in all the sights of the countryside and just the buildings, and then she went through cities, and then she'd get into the farm areas. And she said she tried to be a sponge to soak up every last sight. Now that she's been in prison for many years, she does not want to leave prison, even for doctor's visits. In fact, Friday, she emailed me and said that they came to her and said, hey, look, we're going to take you 2 hours away for an appointment. And she refused. She said, I will deal with the medical issue I'm dealing with, because she said she never wants to leave that prison and have to come back. She said it would set her back so far to, again, be on a bus all these years later, getting on a road, seeing real sights, seeing people free driving down the road in their cars. Even though she doesn't dispute she's where she needs to be, it's still too much for her.
Yeah, that just shows you what mentally happens when you're in there.
Right.
And you know you're not getting out.
Yeah, it's just a taste that is just like poison, I guess. It's just so bitter.
Yeah.
To be on the road, but you're going to be on the road back to that barbed wire fence and all the clanging.
Yep. So she says once they were off of the freeway and the bus started making turns, you could feel the tension on the bus.
I bet.
That half of the people would be home within that would be their home within a few years, but the other half of them wouldn't see home for 20 years or never.
Yeah. And she said that when she saw the fences, the guard towers, and the barbed wire, it hit. She knew where she was, and then someone yelled, "Welcome to prison."
Wow. I know when we go do prison ministry, where we go, it's like that.
Yeah.
Like when you see these places.
Yeah.
Because they're normally the ones I've been to, they're in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
And you see that and you're like, oh.
Yeah. I mean, it's so foreign to you and I, but I can't imagine pulling up in my 20s and knowing the only way probably I'm coming out of here is in a body bag.
Yep.
Whether it's young or old.
Yeah.
What do they call that? A backdoor pardon? That's one of the prison terms we just talked about.
Yeah. Yep. She says she was one of the last to be let off the bus and that she didn't want to leave the cage. She knew as she stepped off the bus, she was stepping into a new world.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I've delayed doing things because I knew it would change things eventually, in a big way. You sometimes you avoid tasks.
Yeah.
But not just getting off of a bus. She knew that was it.
Yeah. They lined the prisoners up against the wall and removed their cuffs and shackles. And she says this made her feel vulnerable and naked, and she wanted them back on.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
I guess it's because she's not. The shackles they're coming off, and you're being led into your forever home. And I think too, maybe knowing that the other prisoners are not shackled and handcuffed probably makes you feel really vulnerable.
Oh yeah.
Because she doesn't know how to navigate prison. We said in the last podcast, she said she had a cellmate in county jail who had been in prison for a lengthy time and tried to prepare her. But she knew now it wasn't even close to preparing. You have to experience it.
No. Oof. I think anybody who reads this or listens to this would make me say, I am following the law.
Exactly.
I am not going there.
I'm making my kids listen to these episodes. It's going to be homework.
Exactly. There'll be a 50-question quiz at the end. Yeah.
What happens during a strip search, kids?
Exactly. So everyone was marched to receiving, and they were told to turn and face the wall, and that's where they were given their prison ID.
Yeah, they were given a number. Eventually, we'll get into the official ID, and they were sent to a holding cell. And she says they were given essentially what is a muumuu dress.
That is not fashionable.
My grandma wears muumuus sometimes. I'm gonna get me a muumuu.
Just go borrow hers.
I'm a muumuu all across this house.
And you can sing Melakaliki Maka. There you go.
Is that no?
That's the Christmas song.
Oh
from
yeah.
Christmas Vacation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
She also got a pair of socks and a flip flop.
Wow.
A pair of flip flops, and she was told to undo her hair and strip down to your birthday suit. All of the personal items are taken, and they'll ask if anyone has anything to surrender. So they're giving you a chance to give contraband up. And so if you don't, they take everything that you have, and then they're put in a circle, and they're all these women are naked, and then they're strip searched again.
Tell me how in the world stuff still gets into prison when this is the process.
Okay, I have a really, really bad joke here that I'm just going to let your imaginations run wild, but I think some people have certain talents for hiding stuff, and clearly because she talks about, we'll talk about the strip search first. They're told to face the officer, lean over, and shake out their hair. They're also told to lift their breasts to be sure nothing is hidden underneath. You have to show your underarms. Fold your ears down so they can look behind your ears. And if you have body rolls, you have to lift those up. You turn away from the officer, you bend over, spread your cheeks, cough 3 times, and then after that, you're allowed to get dressed.
I'm good.
This is in front of everybody.
Yeah, I'm good.
So they don't take you in a little room by yourself and give you some dignity.
Check, please. I'm out.
Yeah, I'd say, can I change my mind? I want to go home.
But that's what makes no sense. You do all that and they still smuggle stuff in?
Yeah, some girls were laughing in her group because they were still able to get away with smuggling drugs in. And she said before they even got dressed, there were deals being made.
Wow.
So it starts as soon as you arrive. And I guess that kind of shows you in that group who's going to be the one to stick with because they've got skills to get stuff in prison.
Yeah.
It takes, I would imagine, either you just don't care because you're going to prison, but to go through a strip search and still know you have contraband or drugs on you and laugh about it, it goes to show you the mentality of, I don't care.
Yeah. Because I'm going to tell you, I ain't going to be laughing in that situation.
I'm going to be in the
corner. I'm
corner.
going to be crying for my mama.
I know. I'm going to have my arms covering my chest and my leg up. But the thing is, you get laughed at if you're that person.
Yeah.
That shows weakness. You don't want to go in there and be seen as weak. So you have to just stand there and put on a brave face, or otherwise they're going to pick you out as the one to pick on.
Yeah.
For a million different things.
I'm going to tell you. I think I would go with the I'm crazy thing. It's like that comedian. I don't forget what her name is. But she says if you're ever walking by yourself and somebody tried to kidnap you or something, you just act like you're crazy, act like you're talking to yourself and stuff. Yeah, I think I would go that route.
Have you ever played in your head what you would do if you were attacked? I would act possessed. I'm telling you, I would act like something had just entered my body. And I would just act like a crazy lunatic witch or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I'd have to scare them off. You know what they say, though, and this is not pretty, if a woman especially is ever being attacked, to soil yourself.
I can't do it.
Oh, I think you could if you were getting attacked.
No. Look, we were tubing in the river. Me and my friend Sarah that was here, we was with our camp. And I had to go to the bathroom. I couldn't even go to the bathroom.
Okay, but just imagine some boogeyman trying to grab your arm and pull you in a dark alley. I could tinkle myself real easy.
No, I'm going to break out some Chuck Norris, what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Karate Kid, the crane.
You going to pull out the crane. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wax on and wax off. Mr. Miyagi cannot help you now, girl.
Yeah, I'm catching a fly with a chopstick.
You got a wee all over yourself or something.
Yeah.
So anyways, an inmate clerk, who is somebody who kind of comes in and does some clerical stuff, they had 2 pieces of advice. Do not hook up with girls who are not yours, and don't do drugs you can't afford.
Yeah, they need that on a t-shirt. What? So the room had cement benches around the perimeter of the room, and a toilet was in one corner. She says that her time in the county jail took away any shyness. I mean, I agree with that.
Yeah.
About going to the bathroom in front of others. So for her, it wasn't a big deal. Then they're called out individually for processing. She saw the items taken from her since the day of the initial arrest, and she said it was so unfamiliar to her. She had a hard time thinking of those things as hers.
Right. And you have to consider she hasn't seen these items in 4 years. So whatever she had on her personally when she was arrested, if you've watched any of these crime shows, you know they take all your personal possessions and put them in a bag, and you get them when you leave. Well, if you're lifers, you don't get them back, and it doesn't matter what you had on you. If you had your grandmama's ring on you, well, either you're told, do you want to donate the items or destroy them? Those are your two options. So she really didn't care. She didn't feel any kind of a bond with that stuff anymore because she had already completely disassociated herself as the prisoner from the person that held those items on the day of her arrest. So she sat and she said, she told the lady, I don't care what you do with them. So they were tossed in a trash can. And she said out of the corner of her eye, a ring that she had wore for years and years and years, she watched it as it fell deeper into the trash can.
Wow.
And that was kind of her life. That's kind of what she saw happening to her life, was what she saw with that ring. It was just sinking deeper into the trash can.
Wow. So her picture was taken for her prison ID. She had interviews with a registered nurse and a psych tech. They watched an orientation video, and she says that was the slowest day ever.
Can you imagine the orientation video? It's like, welcome to prison.
Yeah.
We hope you enjoy your stay here. Here's some
Disney
things,
World ride.
Here's some things you can do to make your stay more comfortable.
Nothing. You can do nothing.
And if you have a special request, do not ask anybody for it.
Yeah. Don't touch anything that's not yours.
Can you imagine, though? Because this day started probably at 10 o'clock at night. And it took, I think, 6 to 8 hours to drive to where the prison was. So they've been up all night. You've got the shock of going into the facility, having to undress in front of all these people, going potty in front of all these people. Can you imagine that day? I bet that was probably the longest day of her life. And that's what she says it was. It was the longest day of her life.
And an amazing picture. Now I know why photos look the way they do when they take those.
Well, she said she didn't know. She didn't want to smile in the picture. She didn't want to not smile. She just didn't know what to do. Yeah. She said she felt very numb at that point. At the point where you're getting your picture made that's going to be your ID, she just didn't know how to react. So she said she just stood there.
Yeah. So they were given boxed lunches, and then you had to go to an interview that would determine where you would be housed. She asked for segregation, but was denied that.
It's very different than jail. So we know that Lori, Chad, in jail, this person we're talking about here was kind of segregated and protected. But when you go to prison, you don't get that preferred treatment. And the only way you go to ADSEG, as they call it, is if you're beaten and there is a security risk.
Yeah.
Or if you act up and you're put in segregation for being bad. So you're told, sorry, the little cushy jail life you had where you were protected and catered to somewhat because you're high profile, well, that's gone. You're just one of the girls now. You're one of the guys, one of the inmates.
Sure.
You have no special treatment.
Yep. So she was told unless there was a security issue, she would be in general pop.
Yep.
They were given a bedroll and toiletries. They're put into a line and taken to the receiving yard.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't do it, dude.
Mm-mm.
Nope.
She remembers looking at all the buildings, and she specifically remembers looking over to death row. And that's where the death row inmates are housed, and they are in segregation, and she really wanted to be over there, even if it meant she was going to be put to death, because to her, it would have been a relief to not live the rest of her life in this prison, but also just to feel the security that she had found in segregation in jail all those years.
Yeah.
So you have to think, if you're by yourself for 4 years and then you're going into a system that is, even though you've been in jail for 4 years and you have some of it seems familiar now, prison's a different ballgame. She knows going in there, she's got to relearn that society, or not relearn, she's got to learn that society.
Yeah.
Because it's nothing like county jail. It's entirely different. Your county jail, you might be in there with DUI, child support, up to murder. But in prison, these are not low-level criminals.
Yeah.
They're all big and bad, and some of them are in there even for worse things than what she had done, if that's possible.
And I think that on reading all this and looking at Lori and Chad's life, it's going to be bad.
They're not going to thrive.
No.
And the thing is, now once you get to prison, you can have mental evaluations and they may place you in certain places based on that. But at the same time, you have to be so severe, because some of the things that she's told me about people who are mentally ill in her units, these people are off the charts raging and they're still not segregated.
Yeah.
So neither one of them are crazy enough for that. So they're going to have to be in prison amongst all these people.
Yeah.
And there's no way they're being even remotely prepared where they are right now. And they're going to be in that county jail for a couple more years. Easy, I think.
Yeah.
But even after 2-3 years in there,
It's almost like a false
like a false security.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't think of the word, but it makes you think how something is, and then you're going to turn around and you're seeing and hearing what it's going to be like.
Right.
And that's going to be a big shock.
And I think probably what you find is people that are in jail for 3-4 years before they go to trial, you get a certain level of comfort because it becomes familiar.
Yeah.
But then you're thrown just out into this other world where you're a fish out of water, probably for a year or two as you acclimate to prison. And I just don't see, especially with Chad being so nervous about everything, according to everybody who saw him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's I think he will do the worst out of the two, to be honest with you. I think Lori will find her way somewhat if the scarlet letter of being a child killer doesn't overtake that.
Yeah. Yeah, because we know she's a chameleon.
She can manipulate to get what she wants. Chad just doesn't seem overly manipulative.
Yeah.
I mean, he is, because he's got all these people thinking he's a prophet, but on a big bad scale, prison scale,
Yeah.
No, he's like, no. He's,
Nope. So she was sent to a cell with 7 other women. And she said that first night there were 2 loud alarms for fist fights and someone shattered a window.
Yeah. And she said that was a very rude awakening for her, and nobody batted an eye around her, but she's kind of internally freaking out because this is not stuff she dealt with in jail.
Yeah.
But these people don't care. They will break a window. They will fight till blood is drawn, because really you might get written up and put in segregation for a few days to cool off, but they're going to be right back.
Well, here's the, and it takes you to be a rocket scientist to figure this out. People in jail break the law.
Oh.
They're not law-abiding citizens.
No, they're not.
Yep. So that's an issue all in itself.
Right. But she said after 4 years of solitary, she was completely overwhelmed with all of the activity, the people, the sounds, even the smells. She said everything was just amped up in prison. It was jail on a million times of steroids.
Wow. So she says she was shaken by the violence around her. It was full of chaos and anger. She said the women were wild and uncivilized, and she found
her peace by staying in her cell, and she didn't socialize much at all with anybody else.
Wow. I wouldn't either. I'd be staying in mine.
Oh yeah, I would be a hermit, and largely even to this day, we're kind of jumping ahead, that's still her go-to, is just to be that hermit. We talked about how she stays up all night just to get some quiet time and pretty much sleeps all day, even though it's frequently interrupted with cell checks and counts and all that. So I think we're probably at a point where we can stop for this episode.
Yep.
But I think we have so much more to cover with this, guys. It is there. You would not believe what I have on my computer that I haven't even had time to go through, because what free time I have making notes on this stuff, responding to her, asking her further questions. We're going to be doing this for quite a while. It won't be every episode every time. It might be 15 minutes every episode, depending on the news. This week, if we get big news, of course, that's going to be our focus because we can revisit this anytime. But remember, she is open to answering your questions. So
we've had several reach out and ask questions.
Yes, we have. And
Yeah.
I have emailed her the questions we have. But like I say, it's not like when you and I send an email, it's instant. It has to be read by prison staff. And I think there are a few emails clearly that did not make it to me because some things don't continue the way they should. So I might get part 2 of an email, but not get part 1.
Sure.
So sometimes that can be a challenge. So you have to go through and pick out what's relevant. But I think this, not only in relation to Lori, Chad, Letitia, all these people we're covering, I think just on a general scale, to me, this is so fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
This is crazy.
Well, we all want to know. And right now, I mean, Lori is the big case that we want to know. But these other females that we're covering, and males both, because the males is probably about the same. I would think it'd be a little more violent, though. But you want to see what they're facing and what it's going to be like for them.
Right.
Because honestly, we want them to pay for what they've done. Of
course. And I don't read her writings and feel constantly sorry for her. It's not that way. And I told you guys on the last episode, I've struggled with being okay with somewhat feeling bad for the person I knew, but I don't feel bad for the person that was convicted. There were decisions she made that caused this position for her. But I think you guys are really going to love this whole series. And it's just an inside look, raw and unfiltered.
Yeah.
We filter it because we try to stay family friendly. Believe me, I've read stuff on here that would make a sailor blush. But very informative, and just some of this stuff I have not heard before, and we have a lot more of stuff like that to come.
Yep.
So we will cover tomorrow's hearing at 5. I'll be on Twitter. I live tweet it. Our Twitter handle is Pretty Lies Alibi. Couldn't fit it all in there because of space. I have a feeling we're gonna see everybody's face, then they go to breakout, and then they come back and say it's over.
Yeah.
But man, every time East Idaho updates this week, I'm just going to have that little heart drop when I see that icon on my phone.
Oh, me too. So I thought it was really cool, the thing you put out about saying where you're from.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. It was so cool.
Dude, okay, first of all, me and Fruit Loop have said dude since we were teenagers. It ain't going to change. I'm sorry. We're 40-something-year-old women. They're like, we sound like, what is it, Bill and Ted? Dude, dude. But it's just, there's certain words that I only say with Fruit Loop. And dude is one.
Yeah.
I say dude elsewhere, but it's, sorry about that. We're never growing up, y'all. Y'all got to deal.
But where you guys are from is really cool.
Crazy.
Like Sarah that was here, she started, and she gave us an idea to do a map. So we're going to put a map up of where each of you are from.
Yeah, we're going to do little pins and everything.
Yeah, because it's really neat to see where all you're from and stuff.
Because we're going to transform this studio. It's pretty cool right now, but we got big plans for it.
Yeah.
And so we just want this whole room to be all about Pretty Lies and Alibis, although I have a Neil Young poster, a Pink Floyd poster, Bob Dylan, and the Counting Crows on the wall, and they're not going anywhere. We're going to add to those. Fruit Loop, you got to bring some stuff over here you like.
Yeah.
Because this is, it's my house, but this is our room.
Yeah.
Well, this is your house too.
I'll put it right here over on the wall. I'll bring something. Yeah.
After we dropped you off yesterday, it was really cute because Taylor said, she's not even your best friend. She's just your sister. I was like, yeah, that's true. Because you don't knock when you just bust up in here. And
yeah.
I mean, but Laura, we've been through it. Do you remember having to watch me when I was on morphine after surgery?
Yeah, it was. I had a video. I videoed some of that.
Did you really?
Yeah, but I don't know where it's at now. I think it was one of those I lost it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was very comical.
We've been through everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. Get your mom before, because I sat with you overnight, so they wouldn't have to stay.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And your mom's like, it's gonna be funny. Yeah, you said all kind of stuff.
Oh yeah. So I think that's all for today.
Yeah.
I think that's all we have. We have so much more for you guys. We could literally sit here till midnight and record these episodes, and we still would have more. But
yeah,
I'm going to do other things after this. What do you got going on tonight, Fruit Loop?
I'm just working on some ministry stuff, dude.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep.
We always say it, but me and Fruit Loop are so opposite. It's just like, I think that's what makes our friendship work. I'm a hippie.
Yeah.
You're not.
I'm not.
I like certain kinds of music. We agree on 80s music, but my rock music, you're not a big Pink Floyd fan or anything like that. And
No.
Pink Floyd kind of is the soundtrack to my life. But I hope it comes across on the podcast that, differences and all that, it just works.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love my best friend.
I love you too.
Oh, I don't think you've ever said that to me. Oh my gosh. I don't think I've ever said that to you.
Now it's on audio.
I know. I don't think we've ever said I love you,
I
man.
love you, man.
Maybe when I was on morphine, but
No, I don't think that came up either.
probably not.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're heading out. Hope you have a good rest of the evening. Don't forget, send us some questions to send to her.
Yeah.
As soon as we get answers back, we will share them on the show. And we look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow at some point.
Yep. All right, Rob, file those charges.
File them, buddy.
Let's
We're
go.
waiting on you, Rob.
That's right.
You're going to be the man of the hour when those come down.
Yeah. I bet you the internet will crash.
Oh my goodness.
Internet's going to crash when that comes out.
They're going to be
Yeah.
celebrations in the street.
Yeah.
It's just, it will make me feel so good for JJ and Tylee and Charles and Tammy.
Yep.
Just to know that it's taken some time, but it's not forgotten.
You didn't get away with it.
And you go into the pokey,
Yep.
go into the prison yard.
That's right.
We're not going to write Lori when she's in prison.
No.
No. All right, y'all have a good night. We will see you soon.
See ya.
Recently, our client John met his banker to discuss plans for a clean energy building. What he found was a shared passion for building something more, momentum for change. First Horizon Bank. Let's find a way. Go to firsthorizon.com/John.
Selling your car to Carvana is as easy as...
As easy as pie?
Sure. All you have to do is enter your license plate or VIN.
As easy as a stroll in the park.
Okay, then just answer a few questions and you'll get a real offer in seconds.
As easy as singing.
Why not? Schedule a pickup or drop off and Carvana will pay you that amount right on the spot.
As easy as playing guitar.
Actually, I find that kind of difficult. But selling your car to Carvana is as easy as...
Can be.
Visit Carvana.com or download the app to get an instant offer today.